Dodge this.
This is Sparta!
I have an army. We have a Hulk.
Say hello to my little friend! Say what again?
I'm gonna make him an offer, Captain.
Voice is strong.
You talking to me?
Ladies and gents, welcome to the 11th episode of the BTG MovieCast podcast and the first episode for 2017.
Whoop whoop.
I'm your host, Stephen Nagel,
I'm your co-host, Dean Raval.
and we bring you a monthly podcast where we discuss the world of movies, we bring you some news, we bring you some recommendations, and then we usually delve into a topic about film, cinema, whatever you want to call it. And this month we're going to be doing something a bit different. We're going to be doing our top 10 movies of 2016.
Correct.
For each of us.
Yeah.
So Dean's top 10 and my top 10.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we got on the cards, and that's all we've got on the cards for you this month. We're not going to be doing the recommendations because essentially our top 10 list is a long list of recommendations.
Correct, yeah.
And we're not going to be doing a news section because we've got quite a bit to go through. One thing that I've always seen on the comments of YouTube videos and articles when people do top 10 lists is, oh no, why didn't you mention insert movie's name?
Yeah.
A lot of the time, you have to understand that firstly, lists of movies are subjective.
Correct.
It's our favorite movies of the year. It's not necessarily the best movies according to a massive algorithm that calculates all these details.
Yeah.
And also, we didn't get to see every movie that was released in 2016. So, Dean, you have a short list of some of the movies that might have been contenders for our list, but that we never got a chance to see.
Absolutely. So we've obviously been doing a fair bit of research, seeing what the masses have been saying are some really good films. Obviously, we can't put films into a list that we haven't seen. That would be kind of dishonest. So we have a list of films that we have not seen, but might have made the list had we seen them. Moonlight, La La Land, Fences, the latest Martin Scorsese film Silence, Nocturnal Animals, Sing Street, American Honey, Moana, Manchester by the Sea, which has also been getting a lot of good reviews, and then Patterson. So those are the list of films that probably could have made our list had we seen them.
So that's that. And without further ado, let's get straight into our top 10 movies for 2016.
Number 10. I just did a voice though. There wasn't a Hollywood voice.
Number 10. Cool. Dean, what is your number 10?
I've seen a lot of films the past year. Actually, I've seen a lot of films the past few weeks because I've been on leave and I've been doing a lot of kind of catching up. One of the films that I saw recently was the Todd Phillips film called War Dogs. For those of you who don't know, War Dogs is based on a true story about these two childhood friends that get into the business of selling guns and ammo to the military, the US military. It stars Jonah Hill and Miles Teller, as well as Bradley Cooper. It's kind of a dark comedy. It has a lot of serious moments, some really good performances. And Todd Phillips, who usually does a lot of comedies, actually churns out a really nice kind of mix between the two. It has some
And
humorous
if you
elements.
think about it, the setting is quite hectic.
Exactly, absolutely. I mean, the premise alone is quite intense, and the fact that it was based on a true story as well is unbelievably eye-opening. The fact that it actually did happen, and it's something that is an actual business. One of the things that we noticed is that war is a business.
Yeah.
So it was really a film that made me sit up and take notice, and it's quite interesting as well. So that was my number 10.
Cool. I actually saw that on the plane in my latest trip. It was one of my plane movies.
Nice.
I enjoyed it. Not top 10 material for me, but personally, but a really good film overall. Cool. My number 10 is The Witch. So I just want to put a disclaimer in. Technically, this film was released in 2015, but it only got a theatrical release in 2016, and that's how it's made my list, because that's when I got to see it.
Yeah.
So The Witch it's a very interesting story about this family who live out in the wilderness. It's not entirely explained why they are out there, although you can kind of make assumptions if you watch the film. And weird things start to happen around their farm. They've got quite a few young children and a young daughter who's kind of on the cusp of womanhood. And really weird things start to happen, and it's very much like a kind of even darker Alice in Wonderland type of feel to it. It stars, it's directed by Robert Eggers, or Edges, I don't know how you pronounce his surname, and it stars Anya Taylor-Joy, who brings an amazing performance. This film is not for everyone, it's more coming of age than horror, but there's a nice balance between the two. It's quite a slow burn, but the score and the pacing create this constant tension, and the score is really creepy. There's also some amazing performances, some Game of Thrones actors in there you might spot as well, which is always cool for me. Yeah, great performances, especially by the kids. There's a lot of young kids in this film, and they pull off some amazing performances. So yeah, The Witch is my number 10.
Absolutely. Number 9. So 9. I apologize. My number 9 for the 2016 top 10 list is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So, as a Harry Potter...
Or the porn spin-off, Fantastic Breasts and Where to Find Them.
We digress. Sorry, guys. I apologize for my colleague.
Moving on.
So Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, directed by David Yates, who a lot of you will remember having directed quite a few of the Harry Potter films, and it's obviously the screenplay has been penned by J.K. Rowling, so you know it's in good hands. Based off a book that J.K. Rowling wrote as well. It was kind of comic relief, almost a side book to her Harry Potter saga, and it follows or chronicles the adventures of Newt Scamander, who is a sort of adventurer whose main aim is to find these fantastic beasts from all across the world.
He actually had his textbook
He did.
From one of the...
Correct, absolutely. So a lot of that kind of real life scenarios is going to be brought into these films. And apparently there's going to be 5 of them, which is, very, very cool for the Harry Potter purists who want to see more sort of films being brought out from this universe. So basically it follows and chronicles his trip to the USA, which we find out is also quite heavily populated with witches and wizards, and basically he teams up with some people from the ministry as well as a non-mage or no-mage, which is what
the US
calls
called
muggles. Exactly. So it's very interesting to find all those kind of small details about all the different kind of geographical differences when it comes to the magical world.
And cultural differences.
Differences as well.
Cool.
So look out for that. I mean, it stars Eddie Redmayne, who's a fantastic actor, and he's been in a lot...
Not Eddie Method Man.
No, not Eddie Method Man. Just Eddie Redmayne, Catherine Woodiston, and Colin Farrell as well. It's good to see him doing, a lot of sort of more sinister roles. He plays the antagonist in the film. So look out for that one. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Yeah, I actually saw this last night, so it's quite fresh for me. Thoroughly enjoyed it as well. Good film.
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely.
My number 9 is Swiss Army Man. This film is directed by the Daniels. 2 guys who both have the name Daniel.
Hey, who plays the main character?
In Swiss Army Man?
Yes. Who's the actor that plays the main character?
Paul Dano.
No, the other dude.
Daniel Radcliffe.
There we go. How many Daniels in this film?
Oh, there's actually 3 of them. Wow, I didn't actually realize that. Yeah, because whenever I think of Daniel Radcliffe, I think of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why. Anyways. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Directed by the Daniels and
starring
the
Daniel.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No,
Continue.
Moving on. Yeah, so this is like a super original film. It's weird, it's funny, it's gross. Like there's some really disgusting scenes. Basically this guy, Paul Dano, stranded on an island. He's about to like give up, and he finds a corpse, a farting corpse on the beach where this island is that he's stranded on, and they form a very unlikely friendship. I mean, just the fact that he's forming a friendship with the corpse, and you can just imagine how crazy this movie is, and the imagination that went into this. It's unbelievable. It's really a good watch. It goes to some dark places, so it's not for everyone, and yeah, it's not for kids, definitely. Don't watch it with your parents, maybe. But yeah, it's a really good film, and Daniel Radcliffe surprised me, really showing amazing range, and kind of this year, I think with this and there's another movie where he goes undercover as a white supremacist. Can't remember, I'll put it in the notes. But he's really shown that he's broken out of that Harry Potter mold.
Absolutely,
so yeah, that's my number 9.
It's also very reminiscent of Castaway with Tom Hanks. Where he's kind of deserted on this island, and it shows the kind of slow loss of like sanity, basically.
Yes,
how he befriends a volleyball and that kind of thing. It's kind of has very similar undertones.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's my number 9, Swiss Army Man.
Number 8. Okay.
Cool. So My number 8, we're skipping over it. We're going to come back to it later on because Dean actually put this further up his list. Yeah, we're not going to mention it now, so I'll come back to that one.
Fantastic. My number 8 is Hull or High Water. It's directed by David Mackenzie. It stars Ben Foster, Chris Pine, and Jeff Bridges. It's about these two very southern brothers who rob banks in Texas. Obviously, they've got their own kind of motivations for that. They're not just robbing banks to get rich. They've actually got some valid reason behind it. But of course, you know, they're still robbing banks. They're still committing crime. So there's a veteran detective, Jeff Bridges, who's trying to bring them down. And it's a very nice human tale about the kind of the line between doing something bad for the right reasons kind of thing, and what side you kind of focus on. Do you want to bring these people to justice, or are you siding with them? Do you want them to prevail, or do you not want them to prevail? It's a very interesting sort of dynamic that I find myself questioning as I watch the film.
Sure.
And it's a lot of great performances, some heavy accents, I'm not gonna lie. Jeff Bridges just kind of like, what is he saying? But
turn on subtitles.
Yeah, exactly. But it's an absolutely fantastic film. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I totally recommend that. It's my number 8 film.
Cool. That's awesome stuff. So on to number 7.
Number 7.
So my number 7 is a small little film directed by Jeremy Saulnier. And it has quite a huge cast. I mean, you've got Patrick Stewart and you've got Anton Yelchin, who sadly passed away. Yeah. And a number of other really great actors. Yeah. It's called Green Room, and this is a very interesting film about a rock band who are kind of like touring around. You know, they haven't yet gotten to the stage where they've made it as a band.
Sure.
So they're kind of like getting whatever gigs they can, and they get a tip off about this gig at like this random place, like quite far out and not like really the type of thing they're used to. And it ends up being like this very hardcore skinhead bar that they go to, and the band ends up in a situation where they've kind of gotten more information than they should have in this place, and it turns into this massive kind of game of cat and mouse, life and death, where they kind of have to fight for their lives. And it's pure horror, pure tension all the way through. An amazing, formidable performance by Patrick Stewart, playing against kind of the archetype that he's usually playing, like the soft spoken but sometimes stern also, but like kind of stoic character. He's stoic in this, but he's not usually that hectic bad guy. So it was interesting seeing him in that role. And yeah, this movie is just amazing. Directed by the same guy who directed Blue Ruin, and this guy put everything into Blue Ruin when he made it, and it paid off, and I'm glad to see him still making films. And I'm excited to see what he comes around with next. So that's Green Room. That is my number 7.
My number 7 is a little film as well called Rogue One. It's an
indie film.
Yeah, it's totally indie. I don't think a lot of people heard about it. Okay. It's from the Star Wars saga.
Oh.
Yeah, that little thing. You might have heard about that. So basically, this film is essentially, a lot of people call it a filler film.
Yeah, 3.5.
It's basically 3.5. It takes place between the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, which for Star Wars fans would understand what I mean.
So it's essentially between Revenge of the Sith and
A New Hope. Correct. So basically it follows or focuses on the rebellion and the sort of plans to steal the sort of blueprints for the Death Star, which is, you know, obviously the major planet destroyer that's taken place across the Star Wars story.
And it's also the setup for Leia's task in the beginning of A New Hope, which is to deliver the plans.
Exactly. Carrie Fisher does make an appearance as well, which is a nice Easter egg. And sadly, obviously, Carrie Fisher passed away not too long ago. But Rogue One was absolutely a really, really good film. It had a whole lot of fresh new characters. Felicity Jones is the protagonist, and she stars alongside Diego Luna. Donnie Yen as well, Riz Ahmed. It's a fantastic cast. I mean, even Mads Mikkelsen plays a father, and Forrest Whitaker's in there as well. So it's a really star-studded cast. Like we said, it's a filler film. It's kind of it's bridging the two trilogies.
But it's also answering a lot of questions that people have had for years.
Absolutely, it does. One of the things that I think it brings across really nicely is the kind of, it focuses a lot on the rebellion. So it kind of shows all the different aspects of that, where it comes to the plans to bring the empire down, but also what measures are being put into place to kind of do that. When we watch A New Hope, it's kind of like, okay, there's a plan in place already, but now it's kind of like the building blocks for that.
Kind of building, yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's a fantastic element to bring into the already like well established kind of story.
And I think it's also cool that we see kind of so many different groups of people as well.
Absolutely.
We see, because usually it's just Jedi's and the Empire.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing kind of all these people in the middle ground, like in between, and then also like Saw Gerrera, played by Forrest Whitaker, who's like this extremist, kind of like, he's not friends with the rebels either.
And fun fact, this is the first Star Wars film that the name Skywalker is never mentioned, like throughout the entire film. So it just shows that they're focusing on the wide variety of other kind of characters as well.
Cool.
Which is fantastic, and I really recommend it. I think it's a great film to kind of keep you going up until episode 8.
Nice. I actually also saw this in Bangkok when I was there a couple of weeks ago. I saw it in 4DX.
What?
So it was quite an interesting experience. My first 4DX movie.
Nice.
So yeah, very exciting.
Cool.
So that is your number 7 film.
Yeah.
And that brings us to number 6.
Number 6.
My number 6 on this list, this top 10 list, is Kubo and the Two Strings. It is a completely original story. I'm not going to spoil any element of the story. All I can speak to is the amazing stop motion by Leica Studios. Absolutely stunning. This film is directed by Travis Knight, and it stars a bunch of white people appropriating Asian settings and culture. But, you know, regardless of that, it's still a really good film. Really good story, well told. It stars Matthew McConaughey, the whitest person in the world. Art Parkinson and Charlize Theron, to name but a few white people. And yeah, it's a really, really good film, and I recommend it. It's my number 6.
BTG Lifestyle would like to add a disclaimer that we love white people.
Yeah, we do actually.
Anyway, number 6 from my list is another superhero movie. Go figure. This one is Captain America: Civil War.
Yeah, lots of white people in it.
Super huge amount of white people, but also quite progressively quite a few black people as well. Introducing characters like Black Panther, and obviously Anthony Mackie's Falcon is in there as well. So at least we got a little bit of diversity going in there as well. That's fantastic. Basically, Civil War is directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, who directed Winter Soldier as well. And it follows, it's essentially an Avengers movie. There's a lot of superheroes in this one. And basically it follows the Superhero Registration Act, which is an act put in place that mandates that all the superheroes have to be registered and be monitored and kind of follow certain rules and a code, basically, like the police would. Yeah. So there are superheroes for this and superheroes against it. Superheroes for it is Iron Man, played by Robert Downey Jr. Superheroes against it is Captain America, played by Chris Evans. And essentially it puts the two against each other, and they both have their own kind of teams, essentially.
Sure.
And, you know, it's a good film to show kind of the aftermath of what's been happening in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far. A lot of people have been saying, well, they fucked up New York City in Avengers, and they fucked up...
What's the fallout?
Yeah, what's the fallout, basically? Like, they're destroying cities, but where are the consequences? Yeah. And this kind of...
They're not Jacob Zuma.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, they kind of bring that to a head in this one. And so it's a great story to be told, and it brings in, like I said, a Black Panther. His story comes into the fold, as well as Spider-Man.
Yeah, our first introduction to the new Spider-Man.
Exactly, yeah. Tom Holland, yeah. Exactly. So he's been integrated into the Marvel Cinematic Universe now after quite a bit of dispute and sort of legal in boardrooms and Sony, basically Sony was kind of
we want to fuck up Spider-Man for the next 50 years, and then they were like, okay, wait.
Yeah, exactly. So at least, you know, everyone's kind of happy now, everyone's in the same room, which is fantastic, because ideally all Marvel properties should be with Marvel. So it stars, like I said, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, there's Sebastian Stan in there, Anthony Mackie, Don Cheadle. It's a lot of big stars in this one. So it's definitely a film that I would recommend. It's one of the better superhero films of 2016. So that's my number 6.
So yeah, that brings us to number 5 on the list.
Number 5.
Our number 5, we both got the same film at
Hey,
number 5, which
synergy.
is crazy. Yeah.
Hey.
Listen to this high five. Listen to it. Yeah. So that's a high five for the synergy there.
And it's number 5. A high five for number 5.
Oh,
I mean, come on, guys.
yeah.
What's up?
The film is The Nice Guys, and it's directed by Shane Black, and it stars Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe, among other awesome actors.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Dean, what's this film about?
So basically, it takes place in 1970s Los Angeles and follows a sort of investigation that's led by these two mismatched private investigators that are looking for a missing girl, and also the mysterious death of a porn star is being investigated. In typical Shane Black fashion, it is unbelievably dark, but also hilarious at the same time. It's absolutely fantastic. It reminded me a lot of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. There's a couple of scenes in here that's absolutely hilarious, but it's one of those things where it's kind of really traumatic but also really funny at the same time.
And now he manages to do that balance.
He does it so well. Like and there's some scenes that like you wouldn't expect to be like in a film and to kind of be like, there's one thing that I absolutely remember was they're in a bathroom stall and Ryan Gosling's on the toilet and there's just he's playing with the door but like he can't, and it's just hilarious. I laughed out loud so much.
It's
times.
also amazing. I think it's a good use of Ryan Gosling because obviously he's used to, I mean, he's the perfect pretty boy. Yeah. From like forever. So the fact that he's kind of playing this fuck up, it works, and in a comedic sense as well. Yeah. He brings such an amazing comedic performance to this film. Like, he's such a brilliant comedic actor. Yeah. And I love the chemistry between Gosling and Crowe as well. It really works for me. They did a lot of their marketing material with these viral videos. Yeah. And they did like couples therapy and stuff like that. And it was so amazing. And they're bringing like things from the zeitgeist into into that marketing material, like the Hey Girl meme. Yeah. If you guys can find that video online, you'll laugh for days. So yeah, it's a really brilliant film. I love the mix of action and, like you said, it's dramatic but also comedic. So yeah, perfect balance, brilliant film. Yeah,
people who like other Shane Black films like Lethal Weapon will definitely enjoy this one. It's fantastic and definitely our number 5. Yeah.
Cool. So that's The Nice Guys at number 5. On to number 4. Number 4. Dean, what is your number 4?
My number 4, like Stephen mentioned earlier on, with films that were released in 2015 but only theatrically in 2016, the same applies here. It's a film called The Lobster, which is quite a unique film, to put it that way. It's directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, and basically it's about this dystopian world where, you know, people need to be paired up. People need to be in
a relationship,
but essentially need to be in relationships as dictated by the society. If they're not by a certain age, then they get sent to a hotel where they have to find a mate in the hotel within 45 days, or they get turned into an animal of their choice. Yeah. Colin Farrell, who's the lead in this film, chooses a lobster. Yeah. And it's quite an interesting take on this really...
Hypothetically chooses a lobster.
Yeah, exactly, if it were true. Yeah. And it's quite an interesting take on how fucked up society could get if it came to that point. Like we said, very dystopian, very like... it's very raw.
I think the idea behind this is that you need to learn the rules, which you do quite early on. Yeah. And you need to accept the rules of the universe. Yeah. And once you do that, you commit to understanding and accepting those rules for this universe, you'll enjoy this film.
Absolutely, yeah. And it stars, like I said, Colin Farrell as well as Rachel Weisz, I don't know, and John C. Reilly as well. So it's definitely a film that's got a lot of festival appreciation and acclaim, and it's quite an interesting film if you think about it.
It's really well directed. I mean, who's the director?
Yorgos Lanthimos.
Okay. Yeah, Greek guy, I think.
Yeah, I think he might be Greek.
Also, once again, this, I would say, like, traumatic is also a word that you can use to describe some of the scenes. Yeah. Some of the violence in this film as well.
Absolutely.
It's not short on violence. There's some hectic scenes, some hectic moments.
Yeah.
And also, but it also has these moments of weird fun and like kind of this whimsical kind of nature to it. Yeah. it's kind of unnerving to watch.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
But a really good film.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's my number 4.
Cool. My number 4 is Hunt for the Wilder People. And this is directed by Taika Waititi, who is the upcoming director for, the upcoming Thor Ragnarok. And yeah, he also worked on What We Do in the Shadows, which was a standout film at Sundance a few years ago. That was a brilliant mockumentary film. But back to Hunt for the Wilder People. Brilliant film. So down to earth and wholesome, fun, and captivating. So yeah, Hunt for the Wilder People is about this kid and his uncle who get lost in the wilderness of New Zealand, and there's kind of like a nationwide manhunt to find them. And it's fun, it's wholesome, it's interesting, but it's also very whimsical. And yeah, it's just a very touching story. And it's really good, and I highly recommend Hunt for the Wilder People, one of my favorites of the year.
Fantastic. Number 3. Okay, so my number 3 ideally would have been my number 1 had there not been some other cases that recently came to fruition. But my number 3, and people know this because I've been pushing for this film for the last, I don't know how long. Before it was even announced, I wrote a piece on btglifestyle.com about why we need a Deadpool movie. Yeah. So my number 3 is Deadpool. It's a movie that I really, really wanted to see for a really long time. It's directed by Tim Miller and stars Ryan Reynolds, who, I kid you not, was born to play Deadpool. Like, literally,
he sucks at everything else.
Yeah, he's pretty meh at a lot of things. Yeah. But this is a film that is essentially Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool, playing Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. It's that good. It also stars Morena Baccarin, who plays his love interest. A lot of you all know her from Gotham, who plays Dr. Lee. And also Ed Skrein from, who was in Game of Thrones for like 5 minutes, made a cup of coffee, and then he left again.
Yeah, I made a bad choice leaving Game of Thrones for the transporter.
Exactly. But basically, Deadpool, for those of you who don't know, is a Marvel comic, The Merc with a Mouth. Essentially, it's about this mercenary named Wade Wilson, who gets diagnosed with all the kinds of cancer, like all of them. And he signs up for this experimental kind of treatment or Weapon X program where he gets regenerative abilities, but it also fucks up his face and all over his body. And basically he's then
and his mind
he's the only thing, I don't know how you remain sane or like something close to sane and have that sense of humor after all that shit that he went through. But basically he's out for revenge for the guy who literally fucked up his life, Francis or Ajax, and it's about his quest for revenge and also his quest to kind of reestablish his relationship with his former flame. It's a really, really violent but also hilarious film. It breaks the fourth wall. So in other words, he talks to the audience. And it's a fantastic film to kind of marvel at, excuse the pun, because it's something that brings, it's a very light-hearted, but at the same time a very noteworthy film in that we haven't seen a lot of rated R comics, especially in the last few years. I mean, we saw Blade and various others, but this is one that I think is really going to set the tone, because apparently Logan, the next Wolverine film, is also rated R. Sure. So yeah, it's setting trends. It's got a lot of commercial appeal. Its advertising campaign or its marketing campaign was unbelievable running up to the film. And yeah, so that's my number 3 film for 2016.
Cool. I said I was going to come back to my number 8. Deadpool was my number 8 on my list. So I just didn't want to steal Dean's thunder.
No, of course.
So yeah, I think the studios left them alone and the creators came up with a great R-rated film.
Yeah.
It's fun, it's crass, and it ties in so well with the X-Men universe.
Absolutely.
Like it's just like tacked on, it's tacked on, but in such an awesome way.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they're so confident about how they tack it on.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that was my number 8 from earlier on, and Dean's number 3 film.
Perfect. What is your number?
My number 3 film is your number 2 film.
Number 2. My number 2 film and Nagel's number 3 film is Nume Skoli. So for a lot of the South African audience, you'll know Nume Skoli, or for the international audiences, Call Me Thief. It's directed by Darren Joshua and written by John W. Fredericks. It's a biopic essentially. It's his autobiography, and he wrote it about his his life growing up in the Cape Flats, gets imprisoned. He essentially is caught between this kind of two gangs, the 26th and the 28th, but he remains untied to either side and becomes a storyteller in prison. So essentially, he is the guy who kind of unites everyone through these stories, and it's a very heartwarming story, but it's also a very rough story. Like, there's a lot of graphic violence and rape. But yeah, it's just and it's told in a very authentic way. People who've grown up on the Cape Flats, or even just in Cape Town, just they know about that kind of life.
Yeah. We've all heard about it or experienced it
firsthand.
If
So
you live in Cape Town.
Exactly, yeah, and it's a film that we anticipated. Since we saw the trailer, we mentioned it in previous podcasts,
and now it's being nominated for the Oscars. Well, not nominated yet. It's been submitted.
It's been submitted, yeah,
official,
exactly. So hopefully for best foreign film, it will get picked up. But yeah, that's my number 2 and Nagel's number 3.
Yeah,
Anything to add?
that's my number 3 film, and this film is brutal, but it's honest. And it's very scary to think about as well, and to think about it's very authentic. Like that's what a lot of people go through when young men get sent to prison.
Yep.
Young colored men, young black men get sent to prison in Cape Town, Paulsmoor prison, well-known prison. They are essentially sentenced to a life of gangsterism that is either murder or theft, like stealing, or rape. That is what they get sentenced to. It's not rehabilitation.
Yeah.
So that's a scary thought, and it's crazy how I know we kind of glossed over how he gets arrested when he was younger, but when the way they set it up, it's all around him all the time. The violence is around him, the gangsterism is around him, the drugs is around him in the places that he's growing up.
Yeah.
And they always talk about getting out of the hood. Or it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It also stars Dan Jacques Mouton, as well as Taron Weingart and Sadie Schultz as well.
Yeah. Cool. Brilliant film. I really hope that it takes the Oscar at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It gets accepted and takes that foreign language film Oscar.
Exactly. For, aspiring screenwriters such as ourselves, for a local story to have been getting so much attention, and for it to be done as well as it has, it's a fantastic motivator for us as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, big ups to Nume Scully.
Nume Scully, my number 3 and Dean's number 2.
What is your number 2, Nagel?
My number 2 is Arrival. This is the latest film by Denis Villeneuve, as I've been told is the way to pronounce his name. Not Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, Nagel has been struggling to say this dude's name for the past 4 podcasts. I feel like you said his name or tried to say his name a few times.
Spoke about Sicario, spoke about Enemy, spoke about this Arrival upcoming. Anyways, brilliant film. It's probably my favorite, and objectively speaking, in terms of analyzing film, one of the best takes on an alien invasion, and how that might play out, and unique take on an alien invasion. Amy Adams delivers a magnificent performance in this film, and this film is not about what you expect an alien invasion film to be about: skitskop and donor, or shoot, kick, and punch. For those who can't understand Afrikaans. It's not about that.
Essentially, it's not Independence Day.
Yeah, it's not Independence Day. It's completely different. It's about language. It's about how we communicate with people. It's about how we react to people that are, or beings that are different to us. And there's a lot of undertones of the human race and how we interact with one another. So, I mean, there's a lot to be learned from the story, a lot of takeaways, a lot of different readings that you can go into, which is also kind of a very meta thing about it. So yeah, amazing film. And aside from the content of the film and the performances, it's a beautiful film. And I mean, if you think about like Denis Villeneuve's other films, like Enemy and Sicario, all beautiful films. He doesn't stop the trend here. It's so brilliantly shot, sweeping landscapes, massive wide-angle shots of these massive spaceships, and it's just stunning to watch.
Absolutely,
it's a lovely film.
Fantastic.
Definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So now for the moment you've all been waiting for.
Number 1.
My number 1 film. It's a film I saw recently. It's called Hacksaw Ridge. It's directed by Mel Gibson, and it's about an army medic, Desmond Doss, who enlists in army military camp, and then is then deployed for World War II at the Battle of Okinawa. The unique story about Desmond Doss is that he wants to be a medic to help those soldiers who have been injured, but he refuses to touch a gun or to kill people. It's one of his prime values, and one of the things that none of his other fellow soldiers or commanding officers can understand, and they use that against him to kind of get him to get kicked out of the camp, the training camp, or for him to leave voluntarily. So it's one of those things where they feel that they can't trust for someone to have their back when they literally are not going to have their back. But he's true to his values, and he gets deployed in World War II for the Battle of Okinawa. For those of you who don't know, we're talking about Japan, and it's based on a true story as well. It stars Andrew Garfield as the main character, Desmond Doss. Also stars Hugo Weaving, Teresa Palmer, Sam Worthington, and Vince Vaughn plays his commanding officers. And it's a fantastic film. That's it's one of the war films that I've really enjoyed seeing in the past few years. I mean, it was very reminiscent of sort of Saving Private Ryan, or films of that nature where the war scenes are quite brutal.
Yeah.
But you can't look away. It's absolutely fantastic, and yeah, it's definitely a film that for me kind of really stood out among all the other contenders this year. So that's my number one for 2016, Hacksaw Ridge.
Cool. I haven't seen the film yet. It might have been on my list if I had seen it. I've heard good things about Mel Gibson's direction is amazing. And, you know, obviously we can see that Andrew Garfield, in the wake of his Spider-Man failure, or the failure of the Sony Spider-Man, he's actually picking some interesting projects, this and Silence as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Absolutely. One of the main selling points for me is Hugo Weaving. A fantastic performance as Desmond Doss's father in the film. Absolutely amazing. I haven't seen anything from him that kind of unbelievably rich in terms of characterization in a really long time.
Nice.
So look out for that performance, and also look out for Hacksaw Ridge.
Cool. Thanks for that, Dean. My number one for 2016 is The Handmaiden. This is a South Korean film. Also a lot of Japanese influence. And it's about a woman who is hired as a handmaiden to a Japanese heiress, but secretly she's involved in a plot to defraud the woman. So this movie is amazing. It looks beautiful. The score is stunning. There's so much drama, lies, deceit, even moments of humor. And yeah, it's described as an erotic psychological thriller. So you can expect like a lot of erotic moments, a lot of psychological bending, and it's quite a thrill.
Nice.
Yeah, like that's kind of the best way I can describe it. The performances are amazing. It's directed by Chan-wook Park and stars Tairi Kim and Min-hee Kim, among other actors. Yeah, this is just like one of the best films I've seen in years. It's quite a lengthy film. It's got like three parts, so like 3 acts with like the title cards, etc. The twists and turns that you go on, and the crazy thing is, sometimes I would see a twist coming, but I'd still be surprised by how it played out.
Right, okay.
Or like an exact moment that led to that happening. So there's especially one moment like with a major twist that I wish I could share with you guys, but I'm not going to spoil it for you. Please go watch this. Once again, don't watch it with your mom, your dad. Don't watch it with the kids. Whole family, it might get orcs. But yeah, definitely check this out. It's a very interesting film, and it's very empowering as well for women, in my opinion. And yeah, it's so brilliant.
Nice.
Cool.
Great. So guys, that's been our top 10 list for each of us for 2016. Hit us up in the comments if there's any films. Like we said before, you know, these lists are very subjective, and you know, there might be a few that we missed. Like we mentioned also, there's a few that we haven't seen, unfortunately, but probably could have made our lists. So let us know your thoughts on our list, as well as what you would have added or maybe even taken out.
Yeah, cool. Like, I'm also keen to know your guys' recommendations for, like, you know, something we didn't mention that we might have missed entirely.
Absolutely.
Like, we didn't see, or it wasn't even on our radar.
Sure.
So then maybe we can go check that out.
For sure, absolutely. You know, do us that favor. So hopefully we can do some reviews and stuff in the future.
Cool.
Because we're all about expanding our cinematic and sort of horizons, if you want to put it that way.
Dean, where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Dino15. That's at DEENO15.
Cool. You can find me on Twitter as well at The Snagel, THESNAGEL. You can also find me on Instagram at the same handle. And yeah, you can also catch me editing and writing at btglifestyle.com.
Even me.
Even me.
Even me.
Guys, please visit our site, check it out, share with your friends. Do share this podcast as well. We appreciate the support that you guys gave us in 2016, and we look forward to bringing you some awesome content this year.
In keeping with that, we'd like to extend our gratitude to all the contributors that helped us with posts on the blog, with liking our stuff on Facebook and Twitter, for getting out the word out there, essentially, and for submitting articles that we've posted on the blog. Thank you so much for that, and we hope to continue that relationship in 2017. Also, if you are interested, if you're hearing this but you haven't connected with us before, please do send us emails. Mine is dean@btglifestyle.com
and Steven at btglifestyle.com.
And just send us all the content that you find could be, valued additions to our blog.
Catch us at btglifestyle.com. Cheers, guys.
Peace.
Dodge this.
This is Sparta! I have an army. We have a Hulk.
Say hello to my new